Yeah, I'm going to start. Hello, everybody. I'm Salim ul Haq, the director of the International Center for Climate Change and Development, and it's my great pleasure to be the moderator for this final session of the third global conference on Gobeshona Conference on Locally Led Adaptation and Resilience. We've had a very exciting 7 days, day and night, running a conference with many dozens of sessions from all over the world. I'm going to start by giving a little bit of an overview of what we did, and then I'm going to take us forward to what happens next. And in particular, I've invited a number of speakers and friends who are organizing events in the coming months. And I'm going to invite each of them to tell us about their upcoming events where locally led adaptation will be an issue. And many of us who are working on locally led adaptation may well be participating, and we can take the messages from this conference to those further meetings and conferences. So welcome to this final session. I'm going to give you an overview of what we did for the last 7 days. Today is the 16th of March, last day. We started on the 10th. Next slide, please. So we had a total of 64 sessions, plus the opening and closing, 2 and 6 plenaries. So that's over 70 sessions altogether, total 72 sessions altogether over the last 7 days, and almost 24 hours a day. We didn't quite do 24 hours a day, but very close to. Next slide, please. We had a large number of themes. This is a word cloud of the number of some of the key ones: adaptation technology, capacity building, Bangladesh, deltas, cities and urban resilience, climate justice, climate finance, COP, and then a whole bunch of smaller ones as well. We had a lot of focus on gender and youth as well, which will come up in the further slides. Next slide, please. So we did a lot of boosting of our social media this time, and it really gave us a tremendous boost. So you can see we've got just under 1 million. My colleagues tell me that by the time we finish everything, we may hit 1 million of the people that have been reached on the boosted Facebook and Twitter. But the post engagements are the more relevant ones, people who've actually engaged and participated or watched, at least passively. The participation has been not that huge, but the viewership has been quite huge. And then we've had likes, which are actual people who have participated and given, signals of liking the sessions that they have been involved in. Next slide, please. We've also been quite active on Twitter. We've got nearly 30,000 impressions over the 7 days, and these are not over yet. The last few days look like they're dropping, but this is just captured a few days ago when it was not fully got everything that's happened. So hopefully in the next day or two, these numbers will go up, but there's still significant numbers of people who have been following different sessions on Twitter. Next slide, please. Next slide. So this is just a few selected examples of the countries from which we had sessions. We had several from the UK, including by Newcastle University on deltas. IIED did some lesson learning on LLA. Africa, we had several. The African Development Bank did a very nice one. ARIN, which is an Africa Research Network, did one. The Netherlands hosted several, in fact, the Global Center on Adaptation, and we'll hear from Anju a little bit more about that in a little while. Denmark, UNEP office in Denmark did one on the adaptation gap report that they do every year. Japan had several actually by IGES, the Global Environment Center in Japan. USAID did one from US. India, we had several actually, Green Tech for Women being one of them. Australia also, we had several, including Griffith University. And Canada, we had McGill University, which I believe Blaine he did, so he can maybe tell us a little bit about that as well. And we had a very interesting, the last two I would highlight particularly. The South Pacific, we had the Vanuatu Minister of Environment from Vanuatu and the permanent representative of Vanuatu in New York on the same session. It was sort of very early in the morning, Dhaka time. And the country of Vanuatu has just been hit by two successive cyclones. They've been totally devastated by these cyclones. But they're also very active in the global advocacy, and they have a resolution in the General Assembly of the United Nations to ask the UN General Assembly to request the International Court of Justice for an advisory opinion on the human rights, universal human rights aspects of climate change. And in the General Assembly, the vote is going to be on the 29th of March. And in the General Assembly, unlike at the COP decisions are by consensus, but the General Assembly decisions are by majority rule. So if we get 91 votes, then we win. The others can get 90 votes and they lose. At the moment, we have more than 100 countries that have already expressed their support that they will vote for us. But what we're trying to do, and when I say we, Vanuatu plus all the vulnerable countries together, are advocating and lobbying for a unanimous decision. We would love all countries to agree so that this is a unanimous decision from the General Assembly that we ask the International Court of Justice for an advisory opinion. So let's hope for the best. We're still using all our ability to advocate and persuade people that it's something that everybody should agree to and join forces on. And then the last one is Scottish Government that just finished a few minutes ago. And in fact, Nate, who's on this call as well, kindly stayed back. He moderated that. And that was on the issue of loss and damage. Scotland, as you know, First Minister Nicola Sturgeon was the first leader back in Glasgow in COP26 to put money on the table for loss and damage. She spoke at our session just a few minutes ago. And Scotland hosted a big conference in Edinburgh last year, of which they've now brought a report out, which is on practical aspects of loss and damage, so practical action to deal with loss and damage. And it was an excellent session. So next slide, please. Next slide. So this is just a snapshot of the countries from which we have drawn our viewership. Obviously, Bangladesh is the biggest. Bangladesh is a very Facebook country. So we get huge numbers of people watching on Facebook in Bangladesh. Anything you do, you live stream on Facebook and you can get a big audience. So we're very pleased about that. But you know, the audience numbers in other countries are in the hundreds, which is also not bad. So we'll get the full statistics after the conference, but we're quite proud of having done quite well on the outreach this time. Next slide. We use the HOVA platform for people to register and use the platform that allows a lot of interactivity and discussions. Over the week, there's been quite a lot of discussions on the platform amongst people, and a total of 1,671 actually registered. We actually bought a capacity of 1,500. We didn't think it'll go above 1,500, but then we hit 1,500, I think yesterday or day before, and we had to buy buy extra capacity to get to the total number that registered on the Hova platform. You didn't need to register to watch. As I said, it was live streamed on Facebook, and a lot of people watched it. But the Hova platform allowed a lot more interactivity, as I said, and that was also very nice and useful. Next slide, please. So that's a quick snapshot of the sort of reach of the event. I'll now share a few thoughts on some of what I thought the more substantive elements of this third conference were. So to start with, we had tried to focus or asked for people to focus on not just locally led adaptation, but the use of the 8 principles of locally led adaptation. We wanted to find out how many people knew about it, how many people were trying to use it, and if they had used it, what had been their experience. My verdict is not that many people have heard about it yet. We hope more people will. Quite a few people have heard about it, and we had some sessions that talked about it. And we also got a few significant learning sessions on what does it mean to apply the locally led adaptation principles. There was one particularly good one that the UNCDF Logic program that did in Bangladesh in the hill tracks, where they did a very good analysis of the 8 principles and how much they were able to do each of them, and did a very good self-critical analysis of which ones they found useful and which ones they found more difficult and not so useful. So that was the sort of avowed aim, is to promote and get reflections on the use of the 8 principles. I think we did a bit of that, not a huge amount. There's still early days for application of that. Then the second thing that we were looking at is connecting the local to the global. And that's where our speakers who will speak after I finish come in. There are many global events coming up, and I will introduce each of them to talk about their events, and we will be taking our messages from the Gobeshona conference to those sessions and events that they will be doing. And then thirdly, I would say one of the newer aspects of this year was we got a huge number of applications to do sessions on loss and damage. This has suddenly become the topic du jour, especially after the COP27 decision in Sharm el-Sheikh. And even though we have traditionally kept ourselves to locally led adaptation, locally led loss and damage is also something that is a thing now. Local people are affected by loss and damage. And in fact, at the session that the Scottish government ran, we had a number of examples from different countries, including Malawi, who just got hit by Hurricane Freddy twice. It hit them first, and then it went back to sea, and it came and hit them again. And just in the last 24 hours, I saw the latest news, more than 200 people lost their lives in the second round of Hurricane Freddy hitting them. So loss and damage at local level is now effectively a new additional theme for Gobeshona, and we may by next year call it locally led adaptation and loss and damage, because that is now a reality that's happening on the ground. And more and more people are working on it, more and more people are interested in it. A lot of action and research going on that we can share effectively with everybody. So that's sort of a very quick flavor. We'll do a bit more analysis and share more results with everybody. Incidentally, all our sessions have been recorded and put onto our YouTube channel, and they're available on our YouTube channel for anybody who wants to watch. So please do disseminate. We find our experience is that the viewership of the recordings is many times more than the live audience. The live audience is not necessarily always that big, because not everybody can join at a particular given time. But the people who are interested in knowing about a session can go through the YouTube list and watch it at their own leisure. And they do. Quite significant numbers watch the recording. So even if the live audience is relatively small, the long-term viewership over time of the recording is very significant, and we're very pleased to promote it. We promote all the sessions. Later, people can watch them. They don't become redundant or overnight. They stay valid for quite a long time, and people keep watching them for quite a long time. So the conference is ending now, but the sessions are going to be available, and that's one of the beauties of doing it as an online session. We record it, and immediately we can put it up on YouTube, and it's available for people to watch in their own time immediately afterwards. And that really has worked out well. It's an advantage of doing this conference online. There are some disadvantages. We don't get to meet. We don't get to spend time together. That really is something that I miss. But nevertheless, I think the format that we have evolved in the last 3 years is beginning to be quite effective. And I want to thank all of you for joining us, and those of you who have been able to join different sessions. I'm now going to invite each of our invited guests to tell us about an upcoming series of events that are going to happen. And I'm going to start with Nate because he will have to leave soon. So Nate, why don't you tell us about what's coming up, particularly the Resilience Hub at COP28, but anything else you feel is relevant as well. Over to you, Nate.
Thank you, Salim. And just for those who don't know me, I'm Nate Nathaniel Matthews, the CEO of the Global Resilience Partnership. And first, I'd just like to take an opportunity to thank Salim and everyone from ICAD for another fantastic and hugely successful Gobeshona conference. By all accounts, the sessions have been inspiring and stimulating. I certainly learned a lot from my participation, and I know that pulling off an event like this is no small feat. So huge congratulations to the team. Just a few comments in terms of the sessions that GRP was particularly involved in and some of the highlights from those. We have really found that just increased commitment to adaptation and resilience finance has highlighted the importance of measurement and evidence. And this, this includes as the global stocktake is wrapping up this year, and the global goal on adaptation continues to be formulated at the global level. It really emphasizes the need for Gobeshona and the voices that are captured here to be critical to highlight how adaptation is played at a local level. And another key point that came out of our session was really the evidence needs of communities as sort of key entry points to arriving at any adaptation and resilience decisions. And so just emphasizing that, and again, the importance of this event in highlighting those voices from communities and those needs. Another point that came from our sessions was really just the journeys of local adaptation interventions and practitioners highlighted across these last few days, and just these acting as an important evidence point for policy, innovation, and knowledge, and across the partnerships that we've seen. And this is also in various small grant facilities like the UNDP ISCAP 1, which I know ICAD is involved in as well. And then just to reflect on Salim's point on loss and damage, also just the importance of discussions and actions reflecting on the ground experiences to identify appropriate and adequate measures for addressing loss and damage, and the need to show really the full picture of loss and damage, not only economic, but also non-economic, including loss of biodiversity and cultural heritage. So following Professor Salim's comments on connecting the global to the local, I just wanted to wrap up by providing a few words on the Resilience Hub at COP28. So we will run the hub. This will be the third year for the hub, and really continuing to build on the success from the last 2 years. We've had over 10,000 visitors in person and many more thousands online. And I think what sets apart the hub from other pavilions within the COP is a few things. So first is the emphasis on the regional hubs. So thanks to our partners, ICAD, SSN, and CDKN, and SDI, and others, we really put a lot of effort on distilling and bringing together voices from regional hub events, and then bringing those into the COP process. And that's just a recognition that the COP is hugely inaccessible. it's expensive to go, it requires carbon to go, and not everybody needs to be there. And so we do a lot of work on that, and we're excited about that and continuing that effort. And it would encourage many of you, all of you really online listening, to participate in those regional hubs, and more information will be coming out on those. The second one is really driving action. So focusing the hub on the need to drive action and not just the blah, blah, blah that we often hear at some of these UN events. And so we're really excited, and we'll continue to push all of our speakers and our sessions for that. The third is really the emphasis on the cultural dimensions. So we have an important music dimension to the hub. I do remember some moments of you dancing, Salim, and also the art component as well, which I think adds a bit of variety to what can be a taxing few weeks. And then really the final one is having that hybrid component. So just having that accessibility to the hub and having everything online. And as Salim mentioned, likewise for the hub, a lot of people watch the recorded sessions. So being able to offer that as opposed to trying to align people's schedules for live sessions, I think is really critical. So I would encourage all of you listening and those watching this later to participate in the Resilience Hub. The Hub website is easily available with a Google search. So COP28 Resilience Hub, or just the Resilience Hub at the COP. And we look forward to engaging with you again this year. Thank you, Salim.
Great. Thank you very much, Nate. I know you have to go off, but that's thank you very much for staying and telling us about the Resilience Hub. And hopefully we will be better and bigger next time in Dubai with the Resilience Hub. So I'm now going to invite our next guest, Sam Green from IIED, who will be talking about the 17th International Conference on Community-Based Adaptation. This is the precursor of what later became locally led adaptation. We used to call it community-based adaptation, and I started that series of conferences when I was at IIED. I'm glad to see that they've continued after I left IIED, and the next one is going to be in Bangkok in May. So let me hand over to Sam to tell us a little bit about that. Sam, over to you.
Thanks so much, Salim. Thank you for having me. And for those who don't know, I'm a senior researcher in the climate change group at IIED and the programming lead for the CBA conference. And I just want to join in sharing congratulations on organizing another great conference. Having done it for the last 3 years, we know how much work it is to organize an online conference that's this vibrant and diverse. So very well done, and looking forward to the next one as well. If you don't mind, I'm just going to share my screen to try and get across CBA, why we think it's great and what we're doing this year. So as I said, CBA's 14 and 15 and 16 were all digital, but we've decided this year to go in person. It's something that we felt that the community were telling us that they wanted. So we're going to be in Bangkok from May the 22nd to the 25th. So why should you join us in person? What can you get in person that maybe you can't get at Gobeshona? Well, CBA is a practitioner-focused conference. We really try to get the people who are at the front line of climate action together to share what they're learning from doing it in practice. And of course, we want to get them talking to other practitioners. That includes researchers, that includes governments, that includes NGOs, that includes donors, sitting together around the table with a level playing field, able to really hammer out and get creative with what we mean when we talk about locally led adaptation and what should it look like in practice. And as I'm sure you all know, being there in person gives a special something that perhaps is harder to get online. It's not something that we'll necessarily do every year, but we felt that having been online for the last few years, this was the right moment to do it. So what can you expect to see? Well, we have 5 main themes that will shape the thematic workshops. And the thematic workshops are big questions. It's where we really engage with the major issues of the day. And you can see in green here what the themes are. So we have a climate finance theme. We'll be exploring who holds the risk in climate finance, the role of different intermediaries. We have a theme on nature-based solutions, which will look at urban nature-based solutions, regenerative agriculture, the role of indigenous knowledge. We have a theme on innovation for adaptation, which will explore the interlinkages between public and private, different models for doing adaptation. So not just technology, but also the way that we come together in a whole of society approach to try and get things done. We have a theme led by youth organizations exploring youth leadership in LLA and exploring what is the role that young people can and should be playing. And we have a new theme this year called Decolonizing Climate Action, where we're really going to push to explore how do we address the colonial legacies that still overhang our work on climate. And we're going to push each other to challenge ourselves, to get uncomfortable, to really explore how this legacy is influencing the work that we do and do it together. And that discomfort is something that we can use to improve, to hold each other accountable. So those are the big issues, but we also have a really important part, which is peer-to-peer training and what we call the skill shares. So opportunities for anybody to step up and share their knowledge, share their experience. Maybe they're a community-based actor who has mobilized a community to influence government, and they can share how they did it and what their experience was. Maybe they're an expert on something that's more conceptual and can explain what resilience means and how we measure it. So, and then alongside that, we have the Dragon's Den, which is where participants can come together with an idea, develop it, test it, and pitch it to a panel of investors for an award. Now, it won't be a monetary award, but there will be the opportunity to get greater access to skills and expertise to develop the idea. And it's always a really popular part of the conference. And then finally, we've got the marketplace, which isn't just sometimes you find at a conference, the marketplace is set to one side and people visit it every so often. But at CBA, we make it a centerpiece of the conference. It's a real opportunity for people to come, share their learning, share new ideas, and for everybody else to hear about it. It's where a lot of networking happens. It's where people have in the past found collaborators. They've found partners, they've found donors, and it's a really exciting part of the conference. And all of that is crowdsourced. So we've had our expressions of interest open for the last the last month. And our team is now working through those to pull together all of the different sessions and the agenda of the conference. So that's what you can expect. It's always a really exciting event. It's always a very motivating event to get everybody in a room together to get excited about the work they want to do together. We also have a sponsorship program available for community-based actors and participants to cover their registration and cover their expenses. If you go on the website, I'll just go back to the slide before. You can find links to the sponsorship form. It's a very easy application process. Just record yourself for 2 minutes talking about who you are and why you should come. And we do our best to create as much space as we can for community-based actors to come and have this platform to share what they think should be the future of locally led adaptation. So I really hope that you can join us. If you have any questions, do get in touch by email. Again, the contact details are easy to find on the email. And if you have partners that you think would do well to come to the conference, speak to us about sponsoring them. We can help you to think about what the best way is of getting them there, how they can make the most of the conference, how they can use the conference to build their own networks. So our door is open. Please do get in touch. And I really hope that we'll be able to see you there. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much, Sam. Great to know that you will be doing an in-person again in Bangkok. I think the last time I remember was in Addis Ababa, well over 3 or 4 years ago, I think now. So it would be great to be together again. These are great events, as I recall. Okay, now, so I'm going to now invite another participant that I've invited, Blaine Harvey from Canada, who will be hosting and helping organize the Adaptation Futures Conference in Montreal later this year. The Adaptation Futures Conference is not an annual conference, it's a biennial every 2 years. The last one was in Delhi, but the next one is going to be in Montreal, and Blaine is one of the co-organizers. So Blaine, you want to tell us a little bit about what to expect in the Montreal Adaptation Futures Conference.
Sure. Thanks so much. And let me just echo the words of congratulation from everybody else for the really wonderful event that has been unfolding over the last week here, Salim. To you and your team, we hosted a session really on the theme of the future of conferencing, and I think there's a lot to be learned from just how things have been unfolding here and the incredible support for virtual convening that's been offered. I'm Blaine Harvey. I'm an assistant professor at McGill University, based here this morning in Montreal, Canada, on the unceded lands of the Kanien'kehá:ka Nation. And I'm here to talk a little bit about adaptation futures. Maybe I'll begin, though, by highlighting the session we held here at Gobeshna, which was asking questions and inviting a dialogue about the future of knowledge exchange and convening in the climate and sustainability space. So really, post-pandemic, what do we hope that these kinds of events are going to be able to do? Not only in terms of their sustainability. We worry a lot about the environmental impact of all the emissions associated with being in person and so on. But in terms of equity, inclusion, and overall impact, how do we make sure that these convenings have an impact on practice, on policy, and on the knowledge production that we have moving forward? The results of the conversation, this initial conversation that we had here at Gobeshna, are going to be carried forward to a conversation at the Transformations Conference that will be happening in Australia and online in a couple of months' time. And then we'll really kind of reach a conclusion at or a preliminary conclusion, let's say, at Adaptation Futures. So we'll be looking forward to sharing some ideas and some principles that will be harvested from many events about how we can be reimagining these conferences for the future. Part of that is really thinking about kind of what we hope in-person convening does, and the kinds of themes that we address when we gather in person. Sam's discussion of the CBA conference is a great example of how grounding it in the local. I'll tell you a little bit about what's in store for Adaptation Futures, which is going to be happening in October from the 2nd to the 6th here in Montreal, but also online in order to really engage a wide range of people. If you've not heard of Adaptation Futures, it's the flagship conference of the World Adaptation Science Program, the WASP, and one of the 4 components of the World Climate Program. This year, it's going to be hosted by Uranos with the Government of Canada and, as always, the WASP. As Salim mentioned, this is a biannual conference. This is going to be our 7th edition. Every edition, the conference aims shift, and they're based on the key issues of the time and the place. And so I want to highlight some of the ones in particular that are connected to this theme of local adaptation. There are a number of them, and it's really central to this year's edition. The 4 themes that we're talking about this year are, number 1, to learn from Indigenous and local knowledge in climate change adaptation, both in terms of research, policies, and practices really drawn from around the world. So Adaptation Futures is trying to be a hub for dialogue around that this year. Second will be to accelerate the adoption of transformative adaptation for long-term resilience. Third, and again, really central to local adaptation, is to bring marginalized voices, especially from the Global South, to the forefront of the conversation in order to pursue climate justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. So you can expect that to be really central to not only the themes, but the format of the conference. And finally, to accelerate momentum towards the global goal on adaptation and the global stocktake, as well as to the COP that will be coming at the end of the year, in order to build on action and implement effective adaptation. So those are the goals. I'm going to highlight 3 themes that I think probably connect the most with what the Gobeshna community has been working on here over the week. The first theme that we'll be talking about is learning from Indigenous peoples and local people's knowledges and expertise in adaptation. The second talking about and exploring what it means when we can no longer adapt. What are the thresholds? What happens when we begin to exceed adaptation thresholds? And what does that mean from, not only biophysical kind of perspective, but also in terms of equity, justice, rights, and so on. And then thirdly, a question of who wins, who loses, and who decides. So really centering questions around equity and justice in adaptation. There are a number of other themes. They're all posted at the Adaptation Futures website, which is adaptationfutures.com, easy to find. It's an ambitious conference in terms of size and scope. We are expecting to have upwards of 170 sessions over the time that will be there. And there'll be many of these, over 50 of them will be live broadcast and undertaken in virtual and hybrid kind of formats. I think it's worth mentioning that these isn't just going to be a talk shop with a series of PowerPoints or anything like that. We've in our call for proposals, we asked for proposals that some were presentations, some were dialogues and exchanges, and others were really spaces for knowledge co-construction, bringing people from different corners of the world together to really build new knowledge together. And I think that's an exciting part of Adaptation Futures that we really look forward to. Lastly, I just want to mention that, one of the things about having it in a hybrid format, we're trying to recognize our responsibility as a climate community to, quote unquote, walk the talk on climate action. And just want to salute the Gobeshona Conference for their efforts to be inclusive, to be low carbon, to promote equity in terms of access through the types of format that you've been taking. And Adaptation Futures hopes to kind of follow in those footsteps. Just to flag, the call for sessions has closed, but we are going to be soon opening registration. And so if you're interested in taking part, go to adaptationfutures.com or just follow us on social media. There's a lot of buzz in the adaptation space, and you can kind of make sure you do register and join us. I'm really looking forward to the conversations that we'll be having. So I'll stop there, and thank you so much.
Great. Thank you very much, Blaine. Looking forward to being in Montreal in October for that event. I hope it's not too cold then.
It's a wonderful time of year.
Good.
Montreal. It won't be like the COP of many years ago.
Yes, indeed. That was a nightmare. I remember. Great. Thank you very much. Before I introduce the next speaker, I just want to mention another event that's coming up, but unfortunately, the organizers weren't able to join us today. That's the Asia Pacific Adaptation Forum, which again also takes place every 2 years, not every year. It's going to take place in the end of August this year, and it's going to be in Korea. This is organized every year by the Asia Pacific Adaptation Network, which is part of the Global Adaptation Network, which is run by UNEP, and I've been associated with that for many years as well. This one coming up is going to be, as I said, in Korea. You can Google for it and find it if you're interested in presenting it. Our good friend Babu is the key organizer, but he's on a flight right now and couldn't join us in person. He asked me to just mention it on his behalf. I'm now going to invite Sophie to tell us a little bit about the UNCDF with whom we have been working. They have very kindly been able to fund a pavilion in the last two COPs, which we have been associated with them, which has been effectively the space for the locally led adaptation communities who attend the COPs. And we have together held lots and lots of sessions there, networking opportunities, sharing opportunities, and I'm hoping they'll do it again for COP28. So Sophie, over to you.
Thank you very much, Professor Hook. Well, first congratulations as well to you and the whole team and all the participants to the Gobeshona Conference. We did participate, and indeed it was very interesting. You mentioned the work of Bangladesh. I just wanted to also reflect on the session we've had with the Mozambique and the Gambia, the smallest nation in Africa on one hand, and Mozambique, one of the most, exposed to climate threats, where two local government officials share their experience. I think it was, from my perspective, quite interesting one as well, highlighting indeed the finance element, but also all the capacity building and local engagement with the communities. And perhaps when it comes to knowledge, we also do see the evidence of, what we may call LLA in terms of, impact on the population. And here, sadly, the reality of the cyclones in Mozambique just show that these investments that the local communities decide each year actually, they are exposed, sadly, but we also see the benefit on the lives of those communities. So hearing Blaine about the knowledge piece, I think that we will be interested also to look into more evidence and as a way to advocate also for more finance for local response to climate change. But this put aside, I will now focus on the next event. So before COP, let me just say a word on the most immediate event that we'll have. In May, we will be hosting the 10th annual board of LOCAL, so the Local Climate Adaptive Living Facility, which I'm managing. And so it's the 10th time that it happens. The first year, as I hear, I wasn't there yet, but there was only Benin and UNCDF. It was just starting, and now there are 34 countries engaged. So the constituency will be a mix of ministries, officials engaged with climate change, with local governments, and with finance, so that we can start connecting those dots as a way to actually try to bring some of these solutions that we've heard all week long to scale through systemic approaches. So we will have first on Monday is the second occurrence. We'll have a workshop on climate change negotiations. Last year was focused on non-market approaches as being one entry point in the Paris Agreement for actually working on adaptation across countries through this kind of systems. This year, the focus will be on climate finance, and there will be also a session on the new loss and damage fund, where I understand UNITAR has already been in touch with you, Professor Hook, to actually participate to that session. So that's going to be for 2 days. On the third day, there will be a dialogue on scaling up the financing for locally led adaptation, local adaptation responses. That's where those 3 types of constituencies, ministries will come together to share their experience, including, how to embed instruments within instruments, if I can put it like that. How can, budget support be used to actually scale up systems approach for local adaptation, policy-based lending program for results, debt swaps, etc. So that's and domestic resources as well, so that those experiences can be shared across countries from 3 or 4 continents. On day 4, we will have the board of LOCAL itself. That's where we get the guidance from the countries on how we move forward. Last year, the board gave us as a target to increase the size of LOCAL from, it was then 125 million to 500 million by 2027. We are at close to 150 now, and I think by the end of the year, perhaps 200 million. So without putting too much pressure on all of us, we will be looking at that and how to really bring more finance to the local level. And on the Friday, there will be a ministerial meeting where we can also work with the group of committed ministers to also elevate this agenda and bring it to COP through the official, negotiation channel. So I think that's also the beauty of Gobeshona. I think we have, this really, different consistencies, different entry points, different angles, and, all moving with a similar objective of, bringing support and resources to the local level. So after that in June, we'll be, like several of you, I trust, at the Bonn Climate Conference, where also we hope to continue following certain negotiation stream, the non-market approach, the global stocktake, the global goal on adaptation, and also the new collective quantifiable goal in particular, where we also hope to raise awareness on this, the importance of working at the local level. We may have some events also at the UN General Assembly, New York Climate Week. Last year we had a physical event. We will see this year whether we engage perhaps through an online format. And then to finish by the COP28 in Dubai. In previous year, indeed, we have hosted the LLA hub, we called it, which had quite a bit of success in terms of application. I think it provides, I mean, we all know it's hard to get space at COP for events, and I think it provided a space that was very inclusive with very different type of events, actors, and we tried, to the best of our ability to accommodate, many of the requests, although the demand is increasing. So I think last year we had perhaps 50 LLA related events over the 2 weeks at COP. And we still have to find out the cost and the processes for hosting the pavilion this year. So bear with us, but we are indeed hopeful to host something similar this year. We will also perhaps, reflect with other partners how to shape it this year to perhaps, I don't know whether we should have that many events or provide more space for, networking or exchange, but also perhaps bring even more actors together and connecting those dots again from the very local to the negotiators, to the ministers, so that we can all, try and advance this agenda together. So as we anticipate that the demand might increase, at least for the last 2 years, the demand for events has increased. Just perhaps we will have to look at, more partnership, how we organize the sessions, which in a way is also good, because when it happens to us also sometimes for the official event of the UNFCCC to have to merge event. And when we do that, we also come up with very interesting exchange perspectives and sometimes solutions in how we look at issues. So let us see how it span out, but definitely that is in the agenda for us, and you will be hearing more as we come closer to the date. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much, Sophie. And we wish you good luck in getting the resources for COP28. I think the LLA hub, we heard about the resilience hub that Nate talked about. That was a much bigger affair, and they managed to get a lot of sponsors, and it's very good. But the LLA hub, in my view, is smaller and more modest, but actually more focused. And we were getting people who really work in the LLA space and got an opportunity to meet, which they otherwise in the UNFCCC, as you said, it's very difficult for small NGOs coming as observers to get any space. And we provide that. We do our best to provide that, I think, and that's a service that you have been able to allow us to all reach out to these people who otherwise, they'll come and they'll hang around, but they're not official, doing official events, but they have things to share and knowledge to share. So I think, we do a good function there. Obviously, we must always think of improving it and enhancing it, but let's hope we can do it again this year. Great. So I'm now going to invite our final speaker, who is Anju Sharma from the Global Center on Adaptation, who I don't think is going to talk about a particular event, but maybe share. They've been doing several events in Gobeshona, and they have a number of things happening. Anju is in charge of the locally led adaptation program of work at GCA. So I've invited her to come and tell us a little bit about things that they are doing that may be relevant for others to know about, and if possible, to join. Anju, over to you.
Thank you, Salim. And congratulations really to you and the ICAD team. I can see they're lining up for their well-deserved party.
That's right. There's a party going on in the rooftop, which we're going to go to as soon as we finish.
we should wrap this up so you can join. Yes, definitely. No, thank you so much. I was also thinking that last year this time was more or less when GCA, we were starting our work on locally led adaptation. So we weren't able to have any sessions, but one of the things we did was to try and document some of the case studies that happened. So we actually have a publication out of that, which my colleague will put in the chat if anybody's interested. But hearing, everybody describe these many events, for us, this is obviously sort of rich grounds to find these kind of case studies. And we launched yesterday. Last year, sorry, it was a learning year for us, more or less, right? So we were sort of trying to gather these best practice case studies, emerging practices case studies, to establish a global hub on locally led adaptation, which was launched by the Prime Minister of Bangladesh in December, actually it was. And as you will see, what we try to do there is sort of to try to make the link with the particular principles in each of these. We tried to do that in the publication. We tried to do it here. It wasn't easy. And of course, we weren't in any way sort of trying to, judge to what extent they were doing it. But it was just an interesting exercise to make that link. And also sort of the learning that took place there, that there's quite a bit more understanding we need to do what the application of the principle means and to what extent it can be applied, etc. So as I said, it was very much a learning year. We were looking for these case studies. We had done the publication. We had the awards, the Local Climate Adaptation Champion, the Local Adaptation Champions Awards that we did last year. That again, a lot of people applied. It was, lots and lots of case studies. We had a session with the winners. Today, the award ceremony itself took place at COP, but we had the ceremony, an event today at Gobishona. So, and all of this for us, it's of course, to learn about these initiatives, learn more about LLA, but it's also to identify best practices, because the task we've set ourselves at the Hub is to try and scale this up by looking for funding for investments, existing investments. So one of the things, for instance, just to give you an example that we done last time, and you, Salim, helped us identify Mukuru as a brilliant example of a locally led initiative that was multi-sectoral, that was deeply participatory, that was a model for how NGOs and governments and different actors come together to push in the same direction. So we did that toolkit, and for us now that's become a base on which we try to influence investments by IFIs in Africa and Asia. So for instance, we're now working with the World Bank in a project in Liberia, and sort of doing it in a way that also then allows for peer-to-peer learning. So we are just the facilitators. It's the community in Mukuru that's done the work that will then work with the community in Liberia that can do this similar work, learn from it, make it their own, develop it based on their own circumstances, and then inform investments by the bank. So that's kind of what we're doing, and it's finding a lot of traction, because as we all know, that's one of the places where IFIs have had trouble in the past. They don't have either the time or resources or whatever, but the bringing communities up to speed, giving them that opportunity to understand their own risks and vulnerabilities, and then coming to the table to talk to the investors on what their needs are, that's been a huge gap. So that's where we see our role, that we will come in and work with communities to give them that opportunity, so that when they engage with the investors, they can be more defined on what their priorities and needs are. And so all of this is the wonderful learning that we've had at Gobishona, that we've had in the past year. All of that will hopefully help us identify those partners as well. So I'd really encourage, everybody here, please do send us your case studies, or we have a share your LLA story button on our hub. Feel free to send them to us, because at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is cut off the middleman, the consultant, and make it a peer-to-peer learning exercise, that it is the communities who've done the work, who have learning, who are now going to take it elsewhere. So this year, it's going to be a lot of the same. We will have the awards again. We'll continue to build on the hub. We will have another publication that we do, and hopefully draw from all the conferences that you've mentioned. And but also we'll be shifting gears towards trying to find those investments to influence. So I'll stop there, Salim, but I look forward to all the wonderful things that you've talked about. We'll have at COP, we'll have the award ceremony again and the launch of the publication. That's what we've got planned. We have a collaboration with GRP underway as well. So look forward to another exciting year. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Anju, for sharing all those plans that you have. I'm now going to invite everybody to make sure your camera's on so we can take a screenshot of all of us. Who's taking the picture? Can somebody tell me when the photo's done? Yeah, done. Done? Okay. So can you highlight the rooftop dinner that's going on? I just want to show everybody this is it. So my colleagues are all up there already having a nice time. So thank you all very much. And we're about to go and join them. Thank you all. I'll say good night. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.